Ow, my head hurts. Oh, why is it so hot in here? Okay. Hi, you guys, and welcome back to Advice and Shit. I'm your host, Shelby Watson. I never said my name last time. I thought it was going to be anonymous. Anonymous? That was embarrassing. But I guess we're not anymore. Oh well. Welcome to the second episode of this podcast. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you stream podcasts. You can also find it on YouTube. My current username is _space as it is space _ I thought it was cute years ago because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna just post videos as it is. Wow. Yeah. Anyways, so as promised, in the end of the last episode, I said that this episode would be about relationships, the type of person you're into, and we're going to talk about James Charles a little bit for our type. Now, before we get started, let's do a recap on what we talked about last week. Very quick little piece. We talked about friendships, and after I posted that, the whole frenemies things fell apart, or at least after I posted my episode is when I learned about it. So instead of talking about creep show art, I could have talked about frenemies, but here I am the next week doing a recap so I can talk about frenemies because friends are still important. And I think something different that I didn't talk about in that episode that I can bring up now that's helpful insight because I just experienced it after that episode is that friends can come back into your life. That's perfectly fine. That's normal. Friends fade in and out. But if after you let a friend back in, you don't demonstrate any consequences for their actions, like, yeah, we can be friends again, but we're not as close because you hurt me, then it's like a learned behavior of there's no consequences for what I do. I'm going to do it over and over and over and over again, right? And in frenemies, I'll give a personal example in a second. But in frenemies, Trish walked out. Ethan interrupted Trish. They felt upset, offended, because they were talking about something that was really important to them. And I watched a video of, oh my gosh, what's his name? He analyzes people's physical behaviors on YouTube. I love to watch him while I'm doing dishes. I'm like, wow, you're right. I don't know why. That's what I watch. I'm doing dishes. That's what I watch. And he was saying how Trish was obviously becoming upset because they kept getting interrupted in something that really mattered to them, and they were getting interrupted about pizza. This is something that's really important. It's Pride Month. We're talking about a fabulous movie. You're interrupting me for pizza? Trish got really upset. And, I would be too. I hate being interrupted. And then Trish kept saying that they were fine, but from the analysis person on YouTube, they were saying they're smiling, but it's not reaching their eyes. It's kind of like if you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm going to do it. It's not reaching the eyeballs. This is a real smile. Reaches the eyes. Not reaching the eyes. It's very fake. It's like pursing the lips, holding it back. You're holding back what you really want to say. So Trish was not expressing what they fully felt, that they were upset. And I don't know if it was because they were recording or whatever, but they were upset and they were saying they weren't. And so they stormed off the set and they said they were done with frenemies. This is not the first time that Trish has done that. They have stormed off before, posted several videos saying that they weren't going to come back to frenemies, and that they were done. And Ethan has always just been like, no, it's fine, come back, Trish. And there were no consequences for Trish's actions. There was no to my knowledge. There was no like pay cut because you keep leaving. That's not cool. You keep saying horrible things about us and my family. That's not good. There was no real consequences in the business aspect or in their friendship aspect. So Trish did it again. I don't know how many times she's done it. I feel like she's done it more than twice. But I could be wrong. I think another time was they were in different costumes. I don't remember. But I know it was definitely twice. Maybe it was more than twice. But there's no consequences. So Trish did it again. And now Ethan switched up his behaviors and was like, okay, no, there's a line. You've crossed it. Trish had crossed it several times, but Ethan never expressed or showed any consequences for it. And now there's consequences for it. And they're family, so I think they can work it out. And I hope they do, because they're family. You don't want bad blood with family. But now there's consequences. And it's going to be much, in my opinion, harder to overcome those consequences and continue that friendship, because there wasn't consequences the first time. So now it may look like to Trish they're being vengeful instead of having that foundation in the first place. So I'm sure it's just an uphill battle we'll have to go through. My personal example was one of my bridesmaids. I've known her since I was very young, and every big family event, they would always argue with their parents. It was a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's like a parent saying to the child, "You're in trouble," and the child arguing their way out of being in trouble. That's how that person grew up. There was never any real consequences, so they just kept repeating the same actions over and over and over again. So much so that the night before my wedding, where all the bridesmaids were hanging out, they pulled that shit on me and talk about how no one's ever liked me. Why would anyone ever want to like me? I'm a terrible person, I'm a bitch. We were all just sitting around drinking mimosas like, what the fuck? Why are you yelling at me? Where did this even come from? This bridesmaid is very much a verbal, aggressive person. I'm a aggressive person. I more of a fighter than a lover. Like, you know, fists are flying. That's my knee-jerk reaction personality thing. So it took, and I've had to learn to hold that back, because as a full-fledged adult, you can't go around fighting people all the time. So I just got up and said, I'm going to get some water. I got some water. She came back, and it was like she was in complete shock, because that's not how any interaction works with her when she starts doing that. She's like, are you mad at me? And I was like, what do you think? And then I went and got more water. Because, girl, I could slap a bitch. I could slap a hoe. I don't want to see her again for a long time. And sadly, she's in my wedding photos, and I'm mad at her. Furious. Because what the fuck kind of timing is that? And secondly, I know this girl since I was a little kid. She knows I throw hands, so why the fuck would she yell at me? If I didn't have to look nice and pretty the next day, maybe I would have. Anyways, but that's my story about that. And that's just a recap on Friends. So now, we'll get into James Charles and how the type of person that you like, that stereotypical person that you're into, is actually really toxic. And we're going to talk about how the media plays into that right after this. Welcome back to Advice and Shit. Also, thank you to the people who listened to the first episode. We had 23 streams on the first episode, and I think 26 plays on YouTube. That's amazing. Thoroughly impressed. That's just me. Why did the lighting change? Wow. Weird how lighting changes so quickly. Anyways, so James Charles, toxic. His ideal relationship person, that ideal is very toxic. And also show you that your ideal is really toxic too. But the difference is that you're not going to follow the toxicity. You're going to acknowledge that, hey, my type of person I'm into is kind of toxic, and maybe I shouldn't look for exactly that. Maybe some of the good qualities, but not all of that. So James Charles, his type is younger, a lot younger, 18, like still in high school, to college age. I think it said nobody over 24 on the Impulsive podcast. Like someone 24 with a young personality or an 18-year-old with like an older personality is what he's into. He said that he would love if he was really into older guys, but he's not. But he also said he feels like he's very mature for his age, but he's not into older guys who would be on that same maturity level. So it's kind of strange, but that goes into the toxicity of, I want to say, life. Now, if you're a girl, I'm sure growing up, this is in no way defending James Charles, okay? Because you should realize that if you're talking to someone under the age of 18 or that fucking looks like they're 14, maybe you should do a double check and then still question yourself. Why am I holding scissors? Question yourself, why do I want to talk to someone that looks fucking 14? I don't know. It seems like a great ass question in my opinion, but James Charles didn't come asking me, so you did. Or you came to listen to me rant, whichever. Anyways, he's into younger guys. We've established that. If you're a girl, you've probably been told that, guys mature faster. Guys mature faster than girls, right? And so, a lot of times, girls, including myself, will date, if they date someone their age, they're expecting them to be more immature and they are expected to forgive that immaturity, right? And maybe that's where this comes from James Charles, because he wants to date a man and it's supposed to be the men you're attracted to are immature for their age. I don't know. I have no idea. But like, those are the sometimes said, but most of the time not said expectations that are put on women or anyone who's attracted to a man, I feel like. Because not all women are attracted to men and not all men are attracted to women, I feel like that's the unsaid, sometimes said expectation that's put on people attracted to men, that they're going to be more immature than you, and boys will be boys. Forget it. Maybe that's where that comes from for him. I don't know. No excuse, because you don't want someone who's like that. Like, you need to realize that your type is kind of a problem, it's kind of toxic, and don't go after that specific thing. Go after the good parts of that and avoid the bad. Like, okay, he's into younger people. Gross. But that means that he should go after someone that is more his age, more in his life cycle. That, what I mean by that is like, you're going through the same things. Kind of like, you're 16 wanting to date someone 17 or whatever. You're in the same life cycle. You're both in high school. You're living the same circumstances. If you date somebody, you're both in college, you're in the same life cycle, you're going through the same circumstances, it's good. But if you're like 19 in college, wanting to date someone like 23, not in college, you're in very different life cycles because you just finished high school. That person's been out of high school and they could be out of college at this point if they went to college. You're in different parts of your life. You're at school, they're living their working job probably. If, let's say, you're 21, 23, wanting to date someone 27, but you're both working your real life jobs that you're going to work for like ever, you're kind of in the same, well, not 21 because you just started drinking. I feel like you'd want to party and stuff, and like, if someone 27 is wanting to party as much as you, that may show like immaturity and not wanting to commit. Like a problem with that. Anyways, but if you're like 23, you want to date someone 27, 28, whatever, you're both working your real life jobs for the rest of your life, like you're in the same life cycles. Even though there's a larger age difference, you're in the same life cycles. If you're 50 and the other person's 60, you're in the same life cycle. 10 years age difference, but you're in the same life cycle. You're probably going to the doctor regularly. You probably have grandchildren. You know, you have similar things you could talk about. You're doing the same things. That's what life cycles is. Anyways, that was really long-winded. James should look for someone in his same life cycle. You know, he's a celebrity. He's in a very unique perspective here, because if you date someone who's in a different life cycle than you, and like they're in a more mature life cycle, there's an imbalance of power there, right? They have more power over you. If you date someone in a lower life cycle than you, you probably have more power over them. You have more influence because you have more experience or more money, whatever it be. So if James dates someone that's not a celebrity, it wouldn't be the worst thing. You know, if they're the same age and they're both working their jobs that are their forever jobs, it's not as big of a deal, but it's also like there would still be kind of a power imbalance because, you know, this person would be like, I need to work my 9 to 5 job, and James could be like, no, come visit me. He's like, well, I need to work. And James could be like, I'll pay you. I'll pay for the plane. He said that about someone who wouldn't want to visit him, who was still in high school. You know, on the Impulsive podcast, he said that. He's like, I'll buy the plane ticket, just show up. All you have to do is come here. If you want to be in a relationship with me, you have to actually show up. Like, get here. I'll buy the plane ticket. That is really showing your imbalance of power, where you don't care about that other person's priorities, and you're willing to throw your power in their face. Be like, we'll do it anyways. I don't care about your priorities, I care about mine. Boom. Power move. Like, that in itself is toxic, right? And so that's not James caring about the other person, and is actually not basing his relationship around the power imbalance, but kind of a little bit, like a little toe dip in there, because it's like, I'll pay for whatever, just come see me, because if you cared, you would drop everything and come see me, because I'm paying for everything. Kind of basing your relationship around your money, and they just need to do what you want. Just my opinion, right? What do I know? Just my opinion. So that's bad. James could go after guys in his own life cycle, and preferably someone who wouldn't rely on him financially. And hopefully he would learn to not